Random show. This is a random show. If you want to join the show, you can join the show. The invite link is on my personal page. Stand by, but we're gonna rock and roll with the greatest intro in FMA history.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch. Go.
You're finished. No.
Get up. Gotta wake up, bitch. Get up.
Oh.
Get up. Get up.
Launch the counterattack.
That is the dopest intro in the history of mankind for Filipino martial arts. So today, this is a random show. I sent out a link to the show. I got two people on standby. I got my homie Roberto Pagan and another veteran, actually, Kurt. I think he's a veteran. I'm pretty sure he's a veteran. We're going to go talk to Kurt in a second. Let's add Rob Pagan to the mix. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, brother? It's awesome to be here.
Of course it is. Hey, you know what? It's a random show. Let's go add Kurt to the mix right now. You don't know Kurt. Yeah. Kurt, what's up, Kurt?
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up, man? What's going on? How are you? Where are you? Who are you? What are you? We already know Rob, so.
Yeah. Well, I'm up here in Homer, Alaska. I was actually about to go film some nonsense out in the park, but here I am.
You mean Filipino martial arts nonsense, right?
Absolutely. Rubber chickens and sporks and everything.
Yeah. Do you guys know about each other? Rob, Kurt, Rob?
Kind of. I mean, I've seen you on FMA Discussion. I mean, our community is really small, so, I mean,
yeah.
You see what we see.
So what can I do for you, Kurt? Like, what's your headspace at? Like, what can I do? How can I serve you? Like, what are your intentions? What do you want to do with Filipino martial arts? Tell us a little bit about yourself, all that good stuff.
Okay. So totally random show. So I'm an Army veteran. I spent 11 years in. Have a myriad interesting background in martial arts, from Taekwondo to boxing to Muay Thai, and then leading into Filipino martial arts. And I used to own a gym up here in Homer for about 8 years. Shut down in 2019 because of health issues, and I mean COVID and everything else. And now that I'm kind of tired about the pity party and just getting back into stuff, I'm reevaluating my approach to martial arts and like content creation. So as people may know, I'm the rubber chicken guy, and
this guy does really shit with rubber chickens.
Yeah. So I really don't know if anybody's like getting the joke, but for my own process, I'm just kind of like pecking fun at our community, but really like talking about stuff that I can. And where my headspace is at this point is like, I'm not trying to sell anything necessarily. I don't really am trying to bring on clients. I'm just kind of just having fun and going through this process of dealing like with life after violence and just seeing where the fun and the arts. Because I mean, there's so many like tactical, highly skilled practitioners out there that I just really love and respect, but I'm not that guy anymore. I want to have fun, and I'm not really sure if that's like getting across or if it's something that I really should even concern about caring about.
Rob, what are your thoughts listening to this guy speak about his experiences so far?
Well, first and foremost, brother, thank you for your service.
You too.
And it's great to talk to another fellow veteran brother here. And I see where you're coming from. But I will say this, as a veteran, as a soldier, you're a warrior, right? You're being humble and kind and, going back at what you're doing. But at the end of the day, it is your passion, and that passion will definitely evolve something more of a bigger than you think you might think what it is right now. So you say, I don't want, well, I'm just for fun, but at the end, you know, your growth is your creative, right? Your growth is going to be your value. Your growth is going to be your marketing and your brand, what you become and everything. So no matter how much you try to like do the right thing by saying, well, you know, I'm here for fun, I'm here for this, it's just going to grow into that, you know, and let it evolve into that. You know what I mean, brother? So
Yeah.
it's not how many cool tacticians and special, you know, that are out there, what they do, because you have your own merit. That's really freaking awesome as well. That's something maybe we not have been introduced to yet, you know? So you're on that right path, you know, but you cannot really deny to say like, well, I just want to do it for fun, because that fun becomes your passion, and that passion becomes your brand, and it becomes more. And next thing you know, you're out there and you're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, right? Because there's a lot of people who aren't, you know, veterans that kind of play that game, right? That want to be that. And I think, you know, Rob, you and I were talking just the other day about how there are people in the special operations community who are resonating with my training, and I was a little bit surprised by that, because I'm just an artist trying to do art. And then you know, what's your explanation when it comes to that?
Sure. All right. So in the special operations community, and I think I can speak this for different all branches and for different parts of the world, Canada, United States, maybe third world countries. But in the United States, when the U.S. Army Rangers from the United States Special Operations Command and Green Berets, then Navy Special Warfare Command, Navy SEALs, and SWIC, both units. And then we also have the MARSOC for the Marines, right? And then also Operations Command Combat Controllers. So what happens is that they go through a training pipeline. We go through this training, right, to become, to get assessed and get all the good stuff. Then after we get selected to become, be part of that community, that family, then what happens is even like Delta and all these guys, there's troops and all them and SEALs and teams, they all get selected, and then, or they'll grow as a group. And then what you go is we go on a TDY, which is called temporary assignment. And that can be a mountaineering school, a dive school, a sniper school, advanced CQB school. It could be SEER and other more that can compartmentalize to other these things. The cool thing about this is that majority of the schools that are off-site, they're civilians. So we get sent to schools by civilians in their trade because that's all they've been doing their whole life, right? It could be a sniper school from a civilian sniper school, because we want to go to this civilian sniper school because this person who he or she teaches is phenomenal and the methodology, right? So we go. And some of these snipers at civilian schools have never been in war, have never been a soldier. They're just good at what they do, because what we look for is intelligence, right? That's what we want.
I work with a sniper group here in Canada, and they say the exact same things. Like the rate of adoption in the military is a lot slower than the rate of adoption in the civilian sector. And so to expedite and to bridge the gap of knowledge, the military often seeks civilian specialists to sometimes even just find out like what's going on, what's new, what's emerging.
Because it's cheaper. It's contractors. That's what it is. It's contractors. So they go with it. So they'll do that, and that's what they do. And then when we send them over there, or myself, then we bring that knowledge back to team or to our platoon, wherever, and then we kind of emphasize on that, and we kind of like make it our own and make it like better, extrapolate and everything. This goes to even Delta, goes all these tier 1, tier 2 operators. They go around the civilian schools and they come back with the knowledge and they grow it. So that's the reason why all these members of operators and law enforcement, right? They're looking at you, Rubio's, because they see one, consistency. They see one, intelligence. And they're seeing the content and the content and the dialogue you're writing. And they're like, they don't care if you've been to war or not. In fact, they don't want that. They want a person that they can do what you have. Does that make sense? They say, this is good stuff. The brain is dude in because they want this. it's not about you become your. Because I said at the beginning, they're looking.
Right.
We look for intelligence.
Yeah.
We don't care if this dude's. We don't care if this guy's been a SEAL, because it's so monotonous now. Like, okay, do we want to go to another SEAL operator, right? We want to see someone who's out or up our any operator. We want to see something that's outside of the box, and we say, oh, that's freaking good. And then they'll send one person to that person of the civilian contract, and then then they'll come back, and then that person will share it, and they're like, wow, this is really good. Now we got the command right up there, like, hey, get this guy or her, and bring and let's send she here, or we'll send the guys over there.
Yeah, I always found it really funny when I finished my military contract with the Alaska National Guard in a CAV unit, transitioning to infantry. But I was the communications sergeant, but I was the level 3 combatives guy. I also owned a gym down here, and like I always found it really funny the Pogue teaching our combat arms guys how to punch, kick, and stab people. It's always a funny situation that I found in. But I mean, I don't know.
Explain what a Pogue is for the people that don't know what a Pogue is.
Personnel other than grunt. I was the commo nerd. I brought internet and other things to the field for my beloved infantrymen.
I'll say a Pogue is technically a soldier don't have wings.
Yeah.
So air means airborne wings. So those in an airborne unit, like I was an airborne unit, will call that. I don't get, but it's definitely it's a technically a term. We'll say, oh, you want to be with a Pogue, I mean people airborne wings, and you just regular ground soldier unit. So that's what he just said. It's just an acronym for that. Yeah.
Okay, so now when it comes to like the whole after service thing, and being in love with the Filipino martial arts and wanting to share elements of that journey, I find one of two paths, right? Like one is you really accentuate your service and to translate that into the Filipino martial arts, and the other is like I don't want my service history, and I don't want anything to do with that, and kind of bring it into the Filipino martial arts, right? Kurt, like what are you struggling with right now in terms of presenting yourself into this community?
So it's interesting. So talking about that, I'm very fortunate that I had a very lackluster career. I mean, 20 years of war. I actually never made it to the sandbox. I went to Korea. I mean, 11 years of service. So I didn't really do much. So I don't have much to hang a hat on, and staying in that frame of mind of that's what I did and that's who I believe who I was, because honestly, I didn't have that self-worth investment of that is my identity. My identity underneath that I always believed is I am me. I'm a father. I'm an artist. I'm all these other things. Now, where that carried forward as to like trying to figure out my life after service, when I had my gym, the big things that I worked with is the mental health community. I worked with the addiction recovery community. I worked with kids with CPS.
Wow.
I mean, so the problem that I ran into is something called compassion fatigue. I mean, dealing with the weight of knowledge and the truth of circumstance. I mean, that weighs on you emotionally, and you carry this around. I mean, there's a real thing called vicarious traumatization. And the fact of the matter is, 20 years of war, the data is there. So the problem that I run into at the end of my time with the gym is just like, I am so tired of like dealing with all of that stress and emotion. And then on top of all that, dealing with my own process of healing. And so when everything came to the head and I had to drop everything because of health reasons, it took me several years to like get back to it. And now where I'm at it, where I don't necessarily have to sell the business, sell the product, I can just like enjoy this for fun and express my joy post the violence, post like the attention specific to all that trauma, and actually just like, hey, let's take a step back, let's take a breath, and enjoy what we do. And if part of that is making fun of what we do, I mean, in the military, the best way we found out that we like somebody is we pick on you. It's because you're one of us. And it's because we love you. And I mean, it doesn't sound macho, but the fact of the matter is we need to have that space to be vulnerable to say that we love something and it's okay. And I love Filipino martial arts. I love the process of learning, and I sure as hell love making fun of myself and making fun of the process of learning. So, and that's, I mean, that's what I'm trying to figure out, if that's actually something valuable.
Man,
for
bro,
others.
Thank you so much for sharing that. If I may, for a second, for those who don't know, I for a really intense period of my life, I worked with veterans with combat-induced post-traumatic stress disorder, right? And I made these really intense videos of veterans sharing their experiences in combat. And I wasn't prepared emotionally to process that. And I got, and there was a sense of shame for me, because I did find myself, you know, crying out of nowhere and just feeling agitated. And I'm like, I never went to combat. What am I, just some sort of pussy here? Like, but then I started realizing that there were these things that exist, like that vicarious thing that you're talking about. Like when you process other people's trauma, and if you're a highly empathetic person, like you absorb that energy. And if you don't have the mechanism to be able to release that in a healthy way, it's going to eat away at you. So maybe after this show, I'd like to share with you some of the ways that I've been able to learn how to still be compassionate and still be empathetic, but not carry that weight with me. Because that's really important to let it go. Because if you cannot let it go, it's going to weigh you down, and it'll catch you off guard. So,
and that's what 4 years of counseling, like honestly, like diving in, putting in the work, is where I'm finding it's okay to just let things go. Because honestly, I am not the arbitrator of truth. I'm not the subject matter expert in my community, and nor should I be the guy to discern what's good or not. But I can still like share some humor. So.
And it was never your responsibility to carry that weight to begin with.
Agreed.
Right?
And it's taken me that long to figure that out.
Yeah. And so there are amazing pathways in the Filipino martial arts. And I think your approach is on the right track, man. Like, what are the things that I learned from hanging out with all these friggin' veterans, right? You talk about like weird coping mechanisms, making fun of each other and laughing. Like, you know how many stories I've heard when guys were under fire and things were looking bleak, and they fucking tell inappropriate jokes and laugh at each other and prank each other. It's a coping mechanism under like extreme stress. And that's why some people, like the veteran sense of humor is friggin' dark, and not everybody gets that. You know what I mean? No. But I think it's friggin' hilarious. But I think there's still a great deal of work to be done with veterans about just being open about these experiences and sharing vulnerabilities without necessarily forfeiting that warrior ethos, that mentality that don't fuck with us. You know what I mean? We are human, but there is that other side. So I'd love to share that with you. I'm not sure if you're busy right now, if you got to go, but you're free to stay. Rob, what's going on? What do you? What are you thinking, man? What's going on?
I don't want to ask the question, but I'm going to ask this question. What do you meant by not carrying the weight? What's the weight are you speaking of?
Are you asking me, or are you asking?
Yeah, Kurt.
Oh, you're asking me? Yeah. Oh, it's the weight of knowledge. I mean, when you go...
The
knowledge of people's situations. So like a big thing that I dealt with the mental health and behavioral health community is learning about other people's trauma, and especially working with kids with ACEs. So for people who don't know, it's kids with adverse child experiences. So dealing with all of that power and that the home situations, the abuse, the trauma, and like this is an outlet for them. But the problem being is that when I put all my emotional effort and weight behind all that, I had nothing else to give. I mean, I was failing as a husband. I was failing as a father. Me too. Because I was giving so much to other people's kids and to this community that I wasn't taking care of my own household. And quite honestly, it wasn't for like the circumstance of a suicide attempt that I really like was able to step back and through the grace of my wife, honestly, and her trust in a process, I was able to pull through a lot of this. And on top of all, lots of counseling. So, and this is where like letting things go, like I keep my circle small. I mean, I was gone off of Facebook for like 4 years. All my social media disappeared. And just like keeping things small and not getting too attached and too involved with things. Make sure that I maintain my own boundaries and learning about it's okay to tell people no. And it's okay to tell people that I don't want to be that guy.
So when are you speaking in the context of when you're saying about these, are you speaking about your coming out of the military to transition to civilian?
Oh, both. I mean, coming out of the military to transition to civilian, transitioning post life after having a gym for many years.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just any points of transition. I mean, because I mean, mental health is tied up in all of this because dealing with my own process of mental health,
Correct.
and then dealing with other people's. So,
Right.
I mean, it all ties together.
If I may, I'm not a a psychologist or anything, but maybe I kind of know where you're coming from on this. So, as veterans, as military, that we give our life, our service to our country, right? And of those, how many years we part of our own team, right? So, for example, the dark humor, what we do, that's what we're literally. That was what we're doing 7 days a week, Rubio. So we go with our platoon, our team, and training, and we're out there in the rain. We're out there in the rain. We're cold. We're wet. We're hungry. We're dehydrated, and you know what? We're all sucking. So we survive by humor, by love, by everything, and all that stuff like that. And then we start to open up and give that vulnerability. Back then, when I was in, we didn't in our unit, we didn't even know what the heck vulnerability was, bro, because. When they looked at us and we started tearing, like, well, what kind of you?
Yeah.
Like, we got a mission to do. You're gonna get us killed, dude. You know, like get your shit straight on, get your thing on, eyes on the horizon. Let's go on the target and let's move. But I feel things wrong. I don't give it. You know, like what I'm saying. And then this is in front of your peers.
Yep.
Now, how the world has changed now, and I wish we had this. Now they're talking. Now we get these top 2 tier guys and soldiers in regular are getting better counseling, more better that you know when you come from a mission or you come from a training environment, you know, they'll send them right to a therapist, right, and they'll be like, hey, we're here, let's do it, and everything like that. Now the military is starting to realize that now you're getting men are coming out from the service of special operators, right? And these men, all operators do, they have group chats with different operators. And we comfort each other with being vulnerable. We didn't know what vulnerability was. We thought crying was being like weak. Now it's not. Now we learn the health process, the mental health process more than anything now. And then we learn to become now vulnerable. But we have our own way as a man, what it is to be vulnerable as a man, you know, compared to another sex. Okay. So
by the way, Rob, real quick, I don't mean to
go ahead, bro.
I don't mean to sorry to interrupt you, but before you continue, the reason you guys are feel more comfortable talking about this stuff, and the reason guys are leaving and feel open to expressing their vulnerabilities, there was a group of pioneers, there was a group of veterans who were mocked and ridiculed and suffered the consequences of being some of the first to open up, right? And so I want to honor those guys, because now, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's easier for people leaving service or even in service to have these discussions. But it wasn't always this way. Am I right?
No, never was.
So just to honor those guys who were some of the first to step forward and say, like, hey, I cry out of nowhere. I can't handle this. I need help. Those guys deserve recognition. Some of those guys are not around anymore, right?
Yeah.
Those guys sort of paved the way for this conversation to happen, for this understanding. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but before you continue, I wanted to mention.
No, but again, we have our own of the masculine side. What is to be vulnerable? We have a way to express it in a way, you know. But now it's out there. Now we can get this, and it's really, really shoot, I wish I would have had this when I would have got out. Maybe things would have been more different, you know. But it is. But at the end of the day, though, because we're in service and we're with our peers, we have to be. We cannot be. Emotion availability is not available when you're on a mission. If you know what I'm saying, right? So
you got to compartmentalize. Yeah.
We have to be the man. We have to like suck it up. Let's go. You know, we're in the mortar pool. Like, get ready to work, because that will cost negligence and safety. Believe it for sure. Some people will get hurt.
Well, I hear it over to like how I train my fighters is that like, yeah, you're in the fight. Be in the fight now, and we can deal with it after the fact. Even though we're taking a little respite, taking our 1 minute in between rounds, but be here now. But we can address it later. Not saying that you're any less for feeling what you feel, but we can address it after the fact when you're no longer at risk, no longer in threat, no longer have the risk of getting your head caved in because somebody's trying to knock you out. So let's be here presently, and then afterwards, let's hold that space of dealing with the emotional high of either success or the emotional low of failure in the fight, and let's build you back up. And I don't understand why that in the military community. I know, as you just described, that it's taken them so long to figure that out about like, hey, war fighters need to have space to talk about stuff. And if combat sports can do it, why can't combat arms? But again, it's culture. And this is the thing that's the thing I discovered with like dealing with the addiction recovery community is it's all predicated on vulnerability and discussing of process so we can hold space and heal.
So let's taking that and sort of transitioning back into the Filipino martial arts, right? Mm-hmm. What lessons can we learn about expressing vulnerability, being honest and authentic, communicating our mistakes, failures, and shortcomings? Because I feel like to a degree, while not being, a duty guy, not being a veteran, that was part of my success matrix. Is that from the beginning, I've been like, here's what I suck at, or check out this guy who slammed me to the ground, and I tried doing this technique and it failed, and I was very open in sharing that. Can we use more of that in the Filipino martial arts?
Oh, absolutely. I agree. There's too much like marketing of perfect technique. And I find those are great for highlight reels for fights. But I mean, your average dojo instructor isn't a Hollywood star. So it's okay to see their process. Now, obviously, we want to make sure that we have authenticity there and teaching what we're supposed to be teaching. But I mean, people are human. Because for one, it helps like remove the ego of the instructor, so they can maintain that presence of saying, "Hey, I'm just human, and I'm still trying to figure this out as well." So I agree. Messy mistakes is something that we need more of, because I mean, it keeps it on a base level of saying, "Hey, we all been there, done that." Because like the military, especially if you're enlisted, you start out as a private, and however you progress, we've all swept the motor pool at some point. So it's that camaraderie through shared experience.
That's correct.
Oh yeah, for Filipino martial arts,
that the only civilian is the only guy wearing an army shirt. Is it?
Yeah.
Can we just address that for a moment? The irony and the silliness of this whole thing.
No. See, there's a difference. Not to mention why the civilians, the military contractors and people that comes to you, Rubio, it's because you stay in your lane. They love you the fact that you're authentic, because you don't act like no freaking dude with all camel pouches and all this stuff like that and all this tactical cool stuff, and you try to be in this tactical cool world or anything like that, right? That's why they want you more than anything, is because you're a genuine authentic self. They're like, this is a cool hippie art geek dude, but he knows the shit. Right.
And by the way, speaking of hippie art geek dudes, you know how many like SEALs and Marines and Delta dudes that I know that are deep down like closet nerds? Like they play and they play Dungeons and Dragons and they watch anime. It's
if you look at look at every like Ranger deal or but we're just very docile. Like I go out like this. I don't go out anything crazy with a chip in my shoulder or anything. Because what we are about is more. It's here. We don't use muscles here and flex. We flex our intelligence. You know, and that's where it comes down to. Yeah, dude. I got man in the Ranger Battalion, bro. Dude, Dungeons and Dragons games we played. Magic Gathering cards, dude. We go on the PC, play computers, man. You know, we have a life outside the cool stuff. Today, our art is like, oh, we're geeks, you know. So yeah,
well, you look like I want to buy some weed off you, Rob, right now. Like, geez,
I don't do.
It's legal in Alaska.
I know.
I mean, more than that. But
yeah,
we're all literally a majority of all the dudes, and now the women are coming in special operations. Majority of them are all either college graduates or they did have college courses and they were about to transfer to college. Mm-hmm. I'm not kidding. I had Rangers that were trained to become pastors, and they're in the field of the firefight going down on range, bro. Yeah.
Kurt, what's the nerdiest thing about you?
What isn't nerdy, dude? I've been running a D&D game with two of my former athletes for 2 years. So, yeah, I craft D&D stuff. I play it with my kids. I mean, one of my heavyweight MMA fighters was an assistant coach of mine, but he's my closest nerdy friend that I got here. And like Cooper, who's in all my videos, is a huge D&D nerd as well. So yeah, but if you look at it like from a military standpoint, it's complex problem solving. It's sandbox training. It's just I don't have to worry about some dude shooting me, maybe with a fireball, but whatever. But yeah, I'm a huge nerd. Wear it proudly.
Well, what about you, Rob? Well, what's the nerdiest thing about you, do you think?
Well, I don't know.
Obviously you're a tough guy.
I don't know. Maybe I guess martial arts. I mean, I'm a huge. I go on YouTube. I'm always researching the darn thing. I love like every martial arts and discipline. Mm-hmm. I mean, like I read books on it, and I just like I can't ever get enough of it. But when I was back in battalion, the nerdiest thing for me was I was watching freaking Smallville, man. I don't know if you guys know. I was watching all my Smallville shows, The Flash, dude. I was watching like all the science fiction stuff, man.
That's hilarious.
I couldn't miss the show. I had to be back. Like, come on, dude, let's get back on time. I'm gonna miss my show. Like, what show are you gonna watch? Flash. What are you gonna watch? Well, I'm gonna watch some Dynasty. Like, you know, it's like, you know, so it's just crazy. We have all this weird.
Oh.
And he's gone. Peace out to Tuhan Rob.
I'm back.
Right. Oh, there you go. He's back. You got a call or
something?
He
had to go to a show. He had to go watch a show.
I know. You have to.
No, you got. I had a call. Came in like, really? But anyhow, yeah. Surprise in the special operations community and soldiers community that everyone doesn't know what's behind the curtain of these men and women. We all have a life. We literally have a life. Like.
Oh, yeah. We're human.
Yeah, we're human.
Look, we got two other veteran nerds commenting. That's funny. Oh wait, I think one guy is still in actually. Anyway, okay, so damn, I had a question and I think I might have lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, that's it. Like, what was the last new thing you learned or were inspired by in the martial arts, or what was the last class that you took that wasn't like your system? We'll start with you, Kurt.
I finally made the pilgrimage south to go get beat up by Grandmaster Bobby Tabuada and to Kelly Ward. Yeah, so I've been friends with Tuhan Belton for several years now, and I finally, because of COVID, finally went south and got some work in. So yeah.
Wait, you went to NSI camp?
No, I didn't make it to NSI. I made it to West Coast, but I'm going in September. But yeah, like it back in August because he was a guest instructor there. I went to the West Coast camp. So, man. Yeah, I also did it was a great time, great community. It felt like coming home. So yeah, and there's a Serrata instructor that just moved here to Homer. So I've been playing with him a little bit when I can. So that's a whole interesting world.
Yeah, Serrata, big dudes with small sticks.
Yeah.
See,
I'm gonna get in trouble, man. I'm
you
gonna
just
get in trouble.
see how come up and it's like boop.
I never
Like,
got the Serrata thing, man. It's one day I'm gonna go explore Serrata, but
It's
I don't know.
interesting.
Seems like it. Seems like it. Yeah. What about you, Rob? Like, what was the last seminar you took from someone else, or what was the last year?
well, actually,
session.
what's coming this Saturday, and it's going to be my first time at a Doug Markaitis seminar.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Yeah, so that'll be definitely an experience. Yeah,
That should be interesting. I've been to a few Doug Markaitis seminars. I've organized a few. I've documented a few, shall we say. Oh, they're great. They're great events. I would recommend them.
Yeah, the last I had, probably, I thought that was pretty cool. Was I finally met Ray, 200 Ray Dionato, here in Orange and here in Southern.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a really, really great experience. And you know, the man's brilliant of his what he does, his brand, his creation, and how he moves. And actually, he's one of the back then when I watched his old videos, like, wow, I want to move like that. What he does, you know, and definitely. But that's it. That's pretty much my last. But this one's gonna be cool. It's coming up this Saturday, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Tuhan Ray. That guy is just. I mean, I would compare Tuhan Ray. Pardon if this sounds like, you know, almost sacrilegious, right? But I like Tuhan Ray is somebody who reminds me of Punong Guru Edgar Solite, and how he's able to bridge different arts, find commonalities, and weave them together in motion and knowledge. And so, yeah, Tuhan Ray, man, Tuhan Ray, FCS Kali, big shout out, huge fan.
You know what's interesting is that for me, when I learn from someone, it's not about me looking what they do. It's about how they talk, what they explain. So that's how I learn. Like when I'm more. That's how I learn by movements. If they just say some people are visual, I'm more about listening. And they stand in, and I said, oh, it's this, and that's what they describe. So when I was hearing Tuan Ray, I will say this right now, like he's MIT, he's like MIT, dude. Like his yeah, like his he has photographic memory. Pretty much.
What's your impression of Tuhan Ray? Like who's left on your list there, Kurt, of people that maybe you haven't trained with or would like to train with again?
Well, my list is large because I haven't trained with a lot of people. So what's really interesting with my background is I have a very hodgepodge approach. I don't have a straight lineage of instruction because moving around a lot as a military brat. Yeah. So, and this is where, I mean, I appreciate your approach is because you pick and choose. This is where like my family system really isn't a system. It's our approach to stuff. So my list, yeah, I have a long list of people I want to go play with and touch hands. Definitely Tuhan Ray. I remember his first video that came out way back in the 2000s on YouTube, and I just fell in love with that video.
Was it this one? Was it the zombie drill one where he's like,
yeah, basically, yeah. So there was that one. Oh, you did that one?
Yep.
Nice.
He came to Canada, and then I got some footage, and then one of his affiliates asked me to edit it. That's
awesome. Yeah, like with me, I mean, my list, I just want to go play with them all. I've been so isolated for so long. I just want to, because I have the time now and I don't have the gym anymore, I can go do stuff, and I want to do it all.
Yeah. Well, you live in Alaska, so that's
good. Yeah.
How did Filipino end up in Alaska, dude?
Cannery. There's a lot of canneries up here. Kodiak Island is a huge Phil-Am community.
Really? So that's that bear place, right? Like where it's...
Yeah, there's bears there. There's deer there. There's Navy SEALs there. So...
Damn. Okay.
I live in
cool.
Homer, so yeah, Homer's where the Discovery Channel kind of makes Alaskans look kind of stupid. So that's where I'm from, because we
Yeah.
have like the deadliest catch guys here.
Oh, I love those guys.
I admire you, bro. But I'll tell you the best thing is when you open that door, you look out, you have peace out there, bro. So
Oh yeah, I'm staying at the ocean right now.
You're
Yeah.
okay. You're by the ocean?
Yeah. It's like right across the street, if you can see that far.
beautiful
That's
looking.
my dream, bro. So you can go out there and toss a pot and then catch some crabs when it's in season. Oh my, that's what I want with my life.
Yeah. Yeah, we can go halibut fishing, go salmon fishing. I mean, I got a pretty full fish. We got moose up here. We got bear. We got anything that produces meat. That's wild. It's amazing. It's easy.
Oh, bro.
Especially being a Southern California boy. I mean, this is home. I love this.
I don't know how you do it, brother. As a Filipino man, I hate cold.
I live in Canada. I feel the pain.
I do. I don't know how you do. I'm like, nah, man. I need my sun and water. But then again, what am I missing, right?
I mean, it's about a perspective. So,
hey,
up here, yeah.
Justin wants to know, Guru Justin Patricio Fernando, is FMA big in Alaska?
Yes and no. There's some PTK in Juneau. There's my friend Master Virgil Navarez, who's a Serrata guy here at Homer. There was my gym, which was like the like quote unquote FMA gym here in Alaska, but we've been shut down. There is a level 5 Balintawak practitioner in Anchorage. That's Chester Chu or you. But yeah, it's kind of hit and miss. There's a lot of boxing and a lot of MMA up here, but I mean, we don't have a fight commission, so everybody goes down south. So it's really odd as to like the spread of martial arts up here.
Maybe that's your time to really get down and open it up, brother.
Yeah. So when I had the gym, I mean, the core of what we were doing was Filipino martial arts, but I mean, we diversified by having the boxing and the Muay Thai, and unlike like what Dr. Tim Hartman was saying the other day about having 100% FMA school versus having FMA supplements, my intention was to have FMA as at the core, but honestly, I couldn't keep enough students in just to do that, so I had to integrate it into everything that we did.
Well, there's a difference between a Filipino martial arts program being integrated into an existing Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, boxing academy versus what you had, which is really at the nucleus is Filipino martial arts, and then having to branch out. So I think that wasn't what he was talking about necessarily.
Oh, okay.
I think, yeah, yours would have counted as, you know, a dedicated Filipino martial arts, even if because the other arts are supplementary. FMA isn't the supplement, right? It's the main, it's the main course. So that's very, very cool. Rob, Tuhan Rob, Justin wants to know why you're dressed so warm in California. It's because he's about to sell some weed, man.
It's because, believe it or not, dude, when it gets below like 70 degrees here, it's cold.
Yeah, California cold.
I live here. Like, who am I, right? Because you two men over here are like live like literally in cold, like a cold. Okay. And over here we have like a huge overcast. I live like 15 minutes away from the beach, but it's like an overcast, and it's like gets all coldish, and it's like I don't
know. When I lived in Palmdale, I mean, it gets cold out in the desert.
Oh yeah.
What's up? Say again.
So when living in Palmdale as a kid, I mean, it gets cold out there in the desert.
Oh, dude, no, that's because you live up in the desert, brother. Like if you cold, desert cold, like that's cold. Like, you know, it'd be 100 degrees, say up in Palmdale, right? But that's supposed below like 80, 70, 75 is cold.
Yeah.
Desert cold.
Hey, you guys want to talk about knife fighting?
Sure.
I just released a video. I want to show it to you guys. You guys haven't seen it, right?
I have. No. We're gonna watch something for the first time. Neat.
Yeah, let's go.
You know what I'm saying? That you guys? Okay, so here it is. Oh, wait a minute. Where did we go? Can you guys see me?
Yep.
Oh, that.
You're there. There you are.
Fighting, whatever that is, and let's talk about knife dueling. First, let's address. You're probably never going. Wait, can you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys can hear that. Okay. So in this video, look at the title. Already, people are shitting on me. The do's and don'ts of advanced combat knife fighting. I'm a clickbaiter. I gotta do it.
That means advanced combat.
Yeah, I know it's bullshit. It's a bullshit title, but sometimes I gotta do that, man. You know, don't hate the player, hate the game.
Oh
man.
no. I'm just trying in the context of that. But yeah, I got you. I hear you.
Okay, so I'm gonna play this. Whenever you want me to pause, you tell me to pause it, okay? Because you want to address something. Cool.
You go.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so let's talk about combat knife fighting, whatever that is, and let's talk about knife dueling. First, let's address you're probably never going to get in a knife dueling condition. Like, that's not a probable reality for the most of us. But combat knife fighting as a sport allows us to be able to audit and test our capabilities as far as distance and proximity management, our timing, precision, and accuracy. It audits our ability to be able to execute on the tactics and strategies that we can intellectualize all day long in pretty little flow drills, consensual pattern choreographed flow drills and air drills. So knife dueling is absolutely an essential tool to be able to develop combat attributes that may not necessarily reflect with direct transferability what is probably going to happen in the real world. So with that said, what do you guys think about this posture, structure, and behavior when it comes to, quote, knife fighting? Right here, right? Relaxed. What do you guys think about that so far? They're right here. To the side, low, right foot slightly in the lead, like this. All right, so like with everything, there's going to be pros and cons. From this position, I think one of the what do you think about that posture, first of all?
I think it reminds me of Prince Nassim back in the day of boxing with the showboaty low deceptive stance, where you really had no idea what was coming, but when it hit, it hit. So, because we get so fixated on the tool and the overall posture that being deceptive is also part of the tactics. Because the fact that surprise is a huge tactic.
John Rob, what do you think? This posture right here for knife fighting.
I did a quote on one of my Facebooks. Don't chase the technique. You want to chase the position, because the position is the farrier. That's the superiority. So when I look at a man's position, and that goes with any person that is an operative or owns combat or jiu-jitsu, they look at the position, they're going to be like, oh, I already know what this guy's going to do, right? So when I see a person does a position like that, right, it's called profiling. When I see that, I right away, I'm going to be like, oh, this guy is dangerous. This dude knows what's going on. And that's a natural behavior of what's out in the streets right now. That's just that, holding that low knife position like that.
All right. I think you guys are going to enjoy the rest of this video. I'm going to play it. First of all, let's address incoming attacks. A low line attack can be met with a parry and a counter. High line attacks, same thing. We can go to the outside and fight to their outside. We can stay on the inside and dominate the inside line. There's lots of things that we can do from this seemingly relaxed posture and position. And I think one of the great advantages in not having your knife, like some people say, out here constantly with a tip pointed towards your enemy, one of the advantages of not doing that is that you mask your true range and you present what will appear to your opponent to be a vulnerability. Like, look, I look open right now. You could slash my face. You could go for a low line thrust. It looks like I'm in a vulnerable position, right? So we can capitalize on that. But, you know, we are prepared. We are prepared to meet those things, right? And so when you mask your true range, if you're facing an unskilled opponent, they're going to see that as a vulnerability and make big mistakes trying to close that gap with telegraphed movements that we can see from a mile away. If the opponent is a little bit more intelligent, then that ought to make them tentative, right? About what my true intention is going to be, like what my true range is. I could be relaxed right here and then close the distance. And before you know it, I'm in your face. I could be crashing in as you're crashing in and getting an angle. So if appeals to authority is your thing, as in a lot of folks who do, you know, knife work, well, you might have heard of somebody named Antonio Tatang Illustrissimo, and this is exactly the posture that he adopts when it comes to knife.
Look at this bad man.
Upright, more or less square, with the right foot just slightly ahead, and the knife in this low-lying position with the tip sort of somewhere in limbo. Like technically it is pointing in the direction of the opponent, like it's not lazy down like this, but I mean that's a very short distance, and then we can actually be playing with that motion as we adopt this strategy. And you can see in the video that I'm about to show you that he's able to address with a parry and a movement to the outside line and a counterattack, right? He's able to stay on the inside and dominate the inside. He's able to go to the outside and dominate the outside line from this posture. So long and short.
Look at that guy, man.
So when we observe techniques and tactics,
like drunken style, right? Just
on the internet, it's very easy to be able to fixate and focus on its vulnerabilities. But you get good at what you practice, and you get really good at what you pressure test. And so don't make the assumptions that just because somebody appears to be untrained that they are. That could be a dangerous mistake in the real world. And that's one of those principles that we can gain from, you know, combat sports sparring in a weapons-based environment. It's just we're able to play and explore these tactics, and in the process share it with another individual. Maybe I teach somebody a lesson because they think I'm vulnerable. Maybe somebody teaches me a lesson because when I perceive a vulnerability and I try to capitalize on it, meanwhile I didn't know that it's an engaño, it's a fake, it's a bait, and then I learn from that. So while knife dueling and combat knife sport and knife sparring always going to have artificialities, but if we throw the baby out with the bathwater, we miss the opportunity to engage in an activity that will help us develop key combat attributes.
all right, we'll stop it right there. I'm talking a little bit.
It's well spoken.
Yeah. I got two things.
Okay.
So one, tool fixation. When the blade is out forward and that we're going to focus on the blade, people get stuck on what's the blade going to do. So fights are about ambush. Talk about military tactics. It's all about ambush. If I'm fighting fair, I failed. So I want to fight at their disadvantage. So have a relaxed stance like that. You don't get fixated on the tool. Second part about that were my own life's experience as a troubled young man in Southern California. The 3 times I've been either stabbed or slashed was from something I didn't see, and it was from a box cutter. Because if the dude was profiling with the knife up front, yeah, I could have done something. But when you're in a crowd and he's got a box cutter, you don't see it. It's the tool you don't see. It's what's going to cut you.
Yeah.
So deception is the way. So,
Rob, what's going on?
Deception is the way. That's actual
the way.
Deception. And that's not about that. That's what I've been taught. That stance, if you look at the Dong stance and the way he was holding the knife, you can see already, as soon as a person put the knife in front of him, like he's ready, you could see the aggression already in his fist, like swelling already. Like, don't point that at me. You know, you can just see the profiling, like Kurt said, and also the positioning as well, right? So that's the most intimidating part of all, is when a person, you see the aggression, you see what's about to happen right now. And if you really notice, if you look at that Dong, and I have a way of seeing just by stance, but just by the way he was standing already, he already won that fight. It doesn't matter what he will throw, because he was going to attack you. And this is the part where Kurt was saying about don't get fixated on the knife, what the knife is going to do. Just let it happen. You know, I think.
All right, so let's talk about combat.
All right, sorry.
Go for it. Oh no, you're good. Good. No worries. Yeah.
Knife fighting, whatever that. You're gonna mute this. Yeah, oh geez, this is not working. Now I was trying to find I was trying to reference the thing that you were talking about how he grips.
It's all about
yeah. Sorry.
Here they're talking about this part, right? This knife, like putting this could be more like intimidation. Actually, the dudes up here, like in my blocking area, they do like, "What's up? Like, what's up, fool? Like, like, let's go." They'll put the knife up so you can see they like for more like to show your vulnerability. I think it's kind of the opposite in the way when it comes to actual knife come out here, but they'll do something like that. They'll put the knife up and they'll be like, what do you do now? Like, and then next, that's pretty much, but I've seen guys I've done this out here. They put the knife, but I never seen it happen. Like the actual knife go, they were just like, all right, man, I'm cool and everything like that. But
I mean, even like to tie to other tools, like modern tools, such as a firearm. So the cool thing about living in Alaska, we have constitutional carry. So everybody is very polite for the off chance that somebody's got a gun on them. So with that, there's this funny situation about people who have this emotional need to open carry. And
correct.
So in a situation like that, everybody fixates on the tools like, hey, that guy's got the gun. But the real question is, how many other people around him have a gun that you just don't know about? And as that equates to a knife, I mean, the knife you don't see is a knife that's going to cut you. If you see the knife, then you're going to be like, oh, knife. I'm going to go the other way. I'm not going to get fixated on that. So.
Yeah, that's that Wild West mentality when everybody's sort of governed by this like unspoken code of respect because you don't know who's packing what, right? So that's very cool. I think I might have known that Alaska was a constitutional carry, but man, look at this man's posture. Look at this dude.
Yeah.
He's chilling, you know what I mean? Like, what the heck? It's
the other part about it, I mean, just so like talk about blading off. So knife boxing, for example, it's a popular thing we like to talk about in our community. I mean, if you put your knife in your jab hand, I mean, that knife is in control. A knife doesn't bleed. Your opponent does. You bleed. So keep the sharp and pointy away from the soft and squishy, is like I like to say. So having that in between you in that space, I mean, you already have dominance and control in that center line in battle space. So
you can see already with the dog, the way he's getting ready. All I can see is I don't want to do this or this. I'm ready just to go in and just thrust and stab this guy.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm seeing. I don't see any fixed pattern or movement. I just see his intentions, what he wants to do.
Yeah. And it's funny because like when you guys see this posture, you guys are like, that's a scary dude. But I think for people who have less experience, they might see this posture as not, like this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's not adhering to all the norms of combat knife dueling, whatever that is, right? Like this just looks like how crazy dude or like, somebody who is operating out of passion might carry it. Look at this. Look at this. The guy's like,
he's inviting it.
He's inviting you in. Like the core of Illustrissimo is, again, I feel like it's also at the core of so many different Filipino martial arts, right? It's just that Illustrissimo kind of markets this whole engaño, this baiting, this una pulgada, this, 1 inch kind of daring your opponent to go ahead and, fuck around and find out kind of thing, which is kind of cool. It's present in all Filipino martial arts, but it's beautifully illuminated in the way. Look at that though. Look at this guy.
Well, it's interesting to use more military terms. Talk about fight space management or battle space management and taking the initiative. The untrained eye will see that he's not taking the initiative. He's caught sleeping. But reality is he is choosing to move when he wants to move, with what he wants to move, where he wants to move, with what tool, because he's making that conscious decision to either stand that ground or wait for you to come into his trap. And by maintaining that control, that positive control, even though he's not moving forward, because people think battle space management and the initiative is action moving forward. It's choosing to move when you want to move, how you want to move, and make them react to you. So by baiting his opponent, he's making him come into that stab or that slash.
No, I love it. Yeah, it's amazing. And again, I mean, do you teach these as like specific techniques? I think it's this exploration of a concept. There's a million ways to execute on this concept, right? Of you know, being or having some sense of predictive powers by way of like eliciting a common response. Like if I'm like this, you're going to want to punch my face. If my hands are down, you're going to want to do certain things, and you're sort of manipulating common tendencies, right? Like in this video, this is kind of a, I don't know if this is the example, but I knew where he was going, right? He saw my arms crossed as a vulnerability. When he comes in, I tap that and then I counter. It seems almost, I mean, this is not something that we would necessarily apply in the real world, right? Because if I mess up in a combat sports environment, you know, I get a point taken away or they get a point.
Well, I have to say, I know you were talking about expressing vulnerability. It's not really good. I'm going to have to kind of disagree on this. Now, the thing is that in Filipino martial arts, in the fighting, right, is there's two ways you can do this. One, you can make yourself vulnerable to allow the other person to be complacent.
Yeah.
Right. And then when that happens, then you change it up and it's like, holy crap, and you mess with their head. You know who does that? GT does that. He makes you feel like you're winning, right? You feel vulnerable, and also you switch it up like a change up. And it's like, what the heck? Or, right, it could go both ways, but that's the way that you do.
It's funny. Master Raymond Floro just commented. He says, hello from Australia. He's one of those guys that I talk about. I call it offsetting, right? Like you offset your energy, you offset your cadence, you offset your rhythm. And that includes moments where, you know, I'm chill. And then you offset that predictable cadence or that predictable energy and you catch them off guard. That's
cool. That's the shift principle and the change principle. That's why it's that's one of them. That is the monumental of winning in FMA.
Like to do a cross-pollination of additional skill sets and culture. So boxing, I mean, that's my primary background. So looking at like Prince Nassim, looking at the golden era of boxing. You got Mike Tyson. You got all these guys that have a very Muhammad Ali. They have a very deceptive approach to make you sleep and lull into that false sense of security because they're unpredictable. You don't really know what's going on, and they allow you to like believe that you've got the game on them. Like Floyd Mayweather's a master of this, flat out. That he baits you in on a trap, does a little bit of showboating, and then you go to sleep. I mean, that's the same with FMA. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if I lull you into a false sense of security, you're going to go to sleep, but it's in a different means or permanent.
And false sense of security is your ego. It's like you allow them to build their ego up, and then there you go. First, take it now. Take it away from them.
This is the level that I take it, and it's a little bit showboaty. Okay, I don't know if you guys can watch this.
Well, you're playing. It's like you're playing, having fun.
Watch what I do. Okay, so I'm the guy on the right. I'm going to parry. You see that? Like I'm sort of showing him that I'm about to parry your strike. And then sure enough, look, I'm like parrying in the air. It comes, I parry it, and then I counterattack. There's so much fun to be had. And I think like this is not something that is necessarily, for sure, it's not directly transferable when we're talking about knife defense. Not a good idea, right? Not a good idea to do this stuff.
On one thing, on something on a little bit, but I'm not gonna say the name, or I'm not gonna say where it was or what. I will say this: I knife sparred with a great group of bunch. Okay, I'm not gonna say if I say any of the name. Oh, I know that what the uniform they wear, but no kidding. I had them at they all these guys, right? And they're all like all tight. And they're like, hey, Rob, why don't you jump in there and get in there? I said, sure, no problem, right? So I put on the mask, put on the gear, and the dude just kept coming in, right, winding. And I kid you not, all I did was bisect the line and thrust. Boom.
Some buy-in action right there.
He just kept getting like hit. He was like, dude, what the fuck's going on? You know, because he was doing the power. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to jam me, and I just keep going right into the face at the same time. This, I'm telling you, when you put your hand to bisect line and you thrust at the same time, all I did, man. This dude was aggressive. Yeah. This dude was really aggressive coming in, but he was like, yeah.
Aggression works sometimes, you know, but it like everything, every strategy, you know, every idea, it's going to have vulnerabilities. Sometimes in FMA, you know, one of the pet peeves that I have is sometimes people speak in definitive terms, like this is going to work and this is how you beat that. And I'm like, I don't know, man.
When I think of aggression, I'm thinking suppression of fire. Okay. But when you have suppression of fire, you do have tactics that goes involved with it, right? So, because you have to move up, you're moving up, right? You're moving up. So once suppressive fire, then the enemy flanks goes up to moving up, and then you barrel down and versus suppressive fire, move up, right? So aggression, yeah, but if you just go aggression, then it's gonna be like, you know, you're gonna get people killed. So you want to be tactical, strategical, and smart at the same time with a little bit of aggression. So it's an intelligence game if you're really thinking about it. It really is.
Oh yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, good fighting has been figured out. Tactics in warfare has been figured out. What keeps evolving is the tools, and what that lends to with instructors and practitioners is fixating on the techniques particular to those tools and not understanding the core principles of good fighting. Because the fact is, fighting is not that hard. I mean, some people it is.
Anybody can fight.
Anybody can fight. It's just we get so inundated by the technique-driven community or market, but we forget that like the human form has been figured out. So we have tails or wings. The human form has been figured out. Fighting is still fighting.
The term that I like to use about fighting, and even from an inexperienced, you know, guy, is that fighting is simple, not easy.
Yeah.
Right. So, because I do think fighting is hard, man. Like fighting is hard, but it can be simplified. So fighting is simple, not easy. Everyone has a fight in them, but to the degree of which you rank up in who you're able to take requires work, right? Like if I'm fighting 7-year-olds all day, I'm gonna be the world champ at fighting 7-year-olds, smash them all day long.
But that also comes from repetition and drilling. I mean, to draw upon our infantry battle drills, some battle drill 1 or executing an L ambush. The reason why we're really good at it is we drill it all the time, and we know we can do it to such a level that we know we're good because we do it all the time. But who's to say about that of the other guy when they get so fixated on, hey, we're going to use this tool in this situation, when the fact of the matter is good tactics generally wins.
Yeah.
So,
that's what I learned. What I learned from guys who engage in combat sports over a long period of time, whether it's boxing or jiu-jitsu, particularly jiu-jitsu. Let me know if you guys have heard this one. It goes through cycles, right? Like when you, at some part of your journey, you find a certain set of techniques and tactics to be working for you, and then it stops working for you. And then you explore other things, and then eventually it cycles back. What used to work, stopped working, and then works again. Right?
That's
It's almost like a cyclical cat and mouse game.
That's correct. That's the military. Something doesn't, if it, like they're always, I hate to say this, but the military is spending more on technology, right? That's where it's going up. But at the end of the day, it goes right back to old school, like, you know, to the tactics. And, let's go back to this. That is, right, Kurt? Right? Where they're like, oh, work, right? And then next thing you know, it's like like maybe you're down, like, hey, man, we're going back to this. Pretty much, because it worked. It just
an L ambush is an L ambush. I mean, you just can't get away from it. So I don't know.
To this day, you go to the airborne school, you go to basic rifleman's basic school of infantry. To this day, they still use 101 basic infantry. That's it. It's a solid basics and solid foundation. It's always one because it has always won. So yeah. Hey Kurt, what did you say about the they worry more about the technique or something like that? What did you say to that?
So in the case of like just fighting tool oriented, we'll just say tool oriented. People get so fixated on like the specific characteristics of a tool that lends to like a specific technique per that tool.
Okay, if I may. And the reason that is because I totally understand within the martial arts, but it's called credibility. They wanted credibility for the art, right? Because it came from that specific technique. It goes to the art, which I totally understand. That's where it comes down to is about credibility. And that's all martial, So
everybody wants to have that very unique, special thing that sets them apart. Because the fact is, at the core, everybody understands it's the human frame is that we're exploiting and fighting, but having that expression that makes it unique to the preference of the individual or the style, we are always trying to get that credibility of saying, "Hey, our level special works." So, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's what the diversity of skill sets and techniques makes the art side of the martial art, and that's the thing I really appreciate.
Why is it so difficult for instructors to foster and encourage the development of one's personal style and interpretation within the framework of learning an art?
I just said it. I don't know if you heard me. It's credibility.
Yeah,
credibility to the art. That's why.
I think it's hard to do.
That or adherence to dogma and rhetoric, because they're more about the curriculum rather than the core of the fighting principles that are trying to be taught here. So, because I've noticed that a lot with a lot of the belt and gi community. I mean, to a point of that with the FMA community in some cases. But realistically, it's just like, let's understand the human frame is the same. Let's understand fighting I figured out a long time ago. But it is okay to like figure out what works for you. Because like in the case of me, when I was fighting, I had this habit of fighting heavy and short against guys who were tall and heavy. So my style was to wade in and eat punches and get concussions. So, but
so
it was one strategy.
Like in what Kurt's saying, and then here's the thing. I think what's happening is not just in FMA, it's credibility to the system. Because when they give credibility to the system, that means it gives credibility to the lineage holder. If you know what I'm talking about, right? So they want to respect the system, but also who's the hierarchy of the art, right? But the most important, I think the most important principle, in my opinion, is you teach the system, right? But more than anything, it's the attributes of the individual. Okay, so the individual may be tall, short, how you want to do it. And they do like, let's say this one point deflection up, right, inside sweep. Okay, the person expressed their inside sweep, but then the teacher's gonna be like, no, that's not how you do it. It's like this, and then you have to move the stick like a little bit inch up that way. Now you're doing it right. Now this is how it is. So now it's like, now you're focusing more on the system, the art, than more on the individual. Does that make sense? Right?
Right.
So I think that's because it has to be a specific look, specific way, manner, in order to give the credibility to the art and in hierarchy. Yeah. So that's where what I think what's happening right now. That's been happening. I'm more focused on the attribute and the individual, the person, because their expression, their point deflection, or their parry in is going to be different. It's not going to look like it, but it is. It still is. It's going to be there. It's like, good, perfect that you did it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like talking about attributes specific to the practitioner, I have a really screwed up left leg. My ankle's had 4 surgeries on it over the course of 20 years. So I have a very specific approach to my footwork to deal with the physical limitations of my permanent disability. Now, trying to teach the tactics of footwork by teaching box step, L step, B step, all those things, a more athletically inclined individual with less injuries will have a better athletic expression of that movement, but if the core principle is sound and they can execute that tactic, it's fine if it fights for their body type. Because, I mean, I can't dance on my feet because my ankle's screwed up, but I can adjust and move as necessary within my limitations, and the same with anybody else.
It's hard to do, to be able to adapt your teachings to the individual if you're mandated to teach a group, and that's how you make a living. So we have two luminaries in Calista Illustrissimo in the comments right now. Just shout out to GM Yuli Romo, who, yeah, I mean, this is a guy who took the teachings of Tatang Illustrissimo and made it uniquely his own, which, according to my understanding, is what you're supposed to do with it. So huge shout out to him. And then we also have Master Raymond Floro, and he writes, I always tailor my teachings to how my students personally move. And he continues, but I have the luxury of teaching one-on-one. It's hard if you have classes and use a ranking system.
That's money. That's bullseye. That's why I say, like, okay, for example, Piquet Tertia, right?
Yeah.
If they want to learn 64 attacks, I recommend private training. If you want to learn on the attributes, then you take the Tri-V, right? Or implements or something from the system within Piquet Tertia that's going to attribute to the individual. So that's, yeah. Because if you're going to try to teach a very systematic methodology art, that takes time. That's not something that you just teach in a group class.
I think there's a way. I think there's a way to be able to teach a group class and still cater to the individual. That's what I'm aiming for.
Now you're gonna do that. I already know you're already gonna do it now. Now you made an assignment for yourself.
That's what I want to do. It's difficult.
Okay.
I don't want
So how are you liking teaching, Paulo? How are you enjoying class instruction?
Well, bro, I've always loved teaching. I was just hesitant to teach Filipino martial arts because I've always felt like I was underqualified to teach a system. But after, 10 years of this loosey-goosey exploration and really focusing on the commonalities and how individuals learn, I feel like now is the time for me to craft this theory into practice, right? Now is the time. So I'm loving it, bro. It's amazing, man.
Because this leads my other point is, when you're teaching in mass, as you remember there, to Juan Roberto, teaching privates. I mean, you remember what it's like to teach a private, yeah? And a group of privates, it's like herding cats. So like teaching a group of kids, better yet, teaching a group of teenagers, it's like herding cats.
Yeah.
So trying to adapt the complexity of footwork and all the complexity of our art to a group setting, I mean, that is an art in of itself, and I commend anybody who takes that on, because having been there, done that, and got burnt out on it, more power to you.
Yeah. And here's the thing, too, we're in a different time. So back in the 80s, students will stay more than an hour, and if, say, for example, class an hour and 30. That's 8 o'clock to 9. Yeah. Back in the 80s, okay? And then the instructor was like, hey, who wants to stay longer? They will stay, and they will train leisurely on a form. Not on fighting, on a form, and also techniques. And this goes back to, we're not going to get too involved, what you were talking about, fighting mindset and the warrior mindset. Remember you had something on this, Rubio, on YouTube about this?
Mm.
But you're not going to find that dedication today right now, because now it's more about like, hey, give me something that's going to help me right now. I'm not about like, doing forms and content, things like that, It's just one of those things. That's why you see more MMA and more jiu-jitsu out there, and then very more fashion of karate and kung fu and then FMA. So
I've been cycling through two comments as you guys were discussing this, and from two people whose methodologies and approaches I draw inspiration from.
Yep.
One is Justin Patricio Fernando. This guy spars more than anybody that I know.
That dude could have been. I'm going to be honest with you, Justin.
Whoa, we didn't hear any of that. You broke up. You're going to be honest with me, Justin? What?
I said, in my opinion, Justin is a candidate for Canadian Special Forces. If he really wanted to try, he would have got selected. Like, no, really, I can see that, man, because he's just first of all, he just had that. He gets it, that intelligent minds, and he's sarcastic in behavior, but he could solve, like, he's always solving it. He's always finding the logic and right in the common sense, like what Kurt was saying about us. It's all about the logistics and what we do with the common sense of appropriality. So with Justin, if he really wanted to, he could join Canadian Force Special Operator. No, hands down, I got money that dude will make in JTF.
That's too much of a wuss.
That's the point. That's the point. That's the point. Oh, he's a wolf. Then he makes it. Right.
Your audio is messing up, Rob. What's going on? Your audio is messing up a little bit. But yeah, Justin, he's inspirational because like his group is clearly a fighting group, like, and they spar a lot, and I draw from that. And the reason I was going through GM Ray Floro is he writes with group classes. I find the best ways to get everyone to spar, then tweak individual techniques to what works for them. That's part of, like, I got my guys to spar before day one, just in trying to scout people that I want to join my class. I went to the boxing class that my kid was in, and I was like, hey, you guys, hold on, just stay in here. And I put AccuStrike knives on them, and they sparred. I'm like, you guys need to go to this. Need to go to this class. Yeah. The Hitman. Oh, look, Sensei Ian Floresca. Respect to all the opinions and knowledge shared here. It's wonderful to see all the different approaches. Absolutely. And I think, do you guys feel like there is something special happening in Filipino martial arts, something historical happening these days?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the fact of the matter is, we don't have written record, or it's been over romanticized by the written record about our Asiatic brethren when it comes to martial arts, because it's been handed down over hundreds of years, where Filipino martial arts, especially from like the Western American standpoint, we have such a well-documented dialogue and approach that sets us apart from the majority of the historical classical approach to martial arts.
And I'll express my vulnerability. All right. But I'm not the best when it comes to dialogue and context. It's one of the things I'm still working on when it comes to, I mean, like, we put floor, I'll show you, right? Like, but even on the floor, when I'll show and more, I'm trying to do more of the dialogue and stay on the dialogue while I do. Okay. But it's a very hard thing. That's another of a craft is of a mastery to that. And because, Rubio, like, and again, like you and amongst other great creator like Scott Babb, and I know I keep bringing it out, but like when you put your stuff out there, you have dialogue, you have context, you have content, and you're still staying on the objective matter, not as subjective, on the objective of what's happening in here. And the thing of all is that the confusion what's happening with is this is a breakthrough, because in martial arts, the system has always been the I hate to say this, but I'm gonna say the tyranny of that, right? Like if I do the art, There's no explanation. There's nothing else. It works, and that's that.
Yep.
And here, you're just, it's not like you're dogging on it or anything, but you're showing the vulnerabilities, right? It's not you're attacking it, but you're showing the vulnerabilities like, hey, look, check this out, you know? So it's everything is fresh and new because we grow up in this martial arts system, in this society. We're not allowed to question in the system, or not allowed to question actually the instructor, you know? So it's just it's liberation, man. So it's, yeah, man.
It's freedom.
It kind of goes back to like my inherent issue as to like, what am I doing with my content? Is I'm not pushing out there for any specific block of instruction of credibility, selling, marketability. Is what I'm talking about is more or less from the humor standpoint and from my own like healing standpoint of trying to figure out what does FMA do for me, given all this historical violence tied up with my existence of being a veteran, having dealt with gang activity, fighting, all this violence that's wrapped around our community, and not being beholden to dogma and rhetoric. And what I'm finding is it's humor is the way to do it because it's my coping mechanism. But I'm not sure if that's translating well to the masses out there. But I mean, I keep throwing it out there and see what happens.
Here's the thing, like that coping mechanism can be a barrier. It's a coping mechanism. It's actually not a coping mechanism. It's a defense mechanism. I want to be clear about this because you're an intelligent guy. You're an articulate guy. You have a lot of experiences to share, and maybe you don't feel that there's value in that. But in just listening to you speak today, I would encourage you to explore sharing the depth of Filipino martial arts, the high level intellect that can be contained within these lessons. Because yeah, the rubber chicken thing is cool. It's funny, but it could be a great coping mechanism. But when it becomes a defense mechanism that prevents you from expanding, right? You are doing a disservice to yourself and the community, because it seems to me like you've got a lot of great things to share. So I always go on fearlessness, authenticity, and sincerity, and like fuck the rest. You know what I mean? Like the greatest barrier to personal happiness is fear of public opinion. When you care way too much about what other people have to say about what you have to do, you're going to stunt your own growth, and you're going to do a disservice to this thing that you claim to love. So there's gonna be haters. There's gonna be detractors. But,
I'm sorry, brother. Shit,
Kurt, I'm just saying, bro. Like, share the depth of what you know to be true from your experiences. The rubber chicken thing is great, but man, just hearing you talk today, there's a lot you have to share about high level concepts, and I'm willing to listen to it and help you promote that. We need more of that stuff. You know what I mean? And Tuhan Rob, the way you move is unlike anything and anybody that I've seen move. You know what I mean? That is your language. Your movement is in your language. So if you focus on your zone of strength, and maybe you move more than you talk, you're going to be a much more effective communicator. Because when I first saw you, you didn't even believe in yourself. But I was like, bro, you know, Rob, like I saw immediately. Like this guy moves like something else, man. And there's going to be people who are going to appreciate the way Kurt breaks down all of these tactics and connects these bridges, and are going to wish that Kurt moved better. And then there's going to be people who watch Tuhan Rob, who moves a certain way and is going to wish that, oh, he can articulate it better. But you know what? Fuck those people, man. Like, there's going to be a subsection of this community who are just thirsty for what you have to offer as far as your core strengths. And those are the people that you really want to serve anyway, because the stage is big and there's a lot of people watching. Yo, there's going to be people who watch you guys to hate on you. You know that. Oh, yeah. There are people who are going to follow everything you do and just to wait for you to slip up so that they can talk shit about you.
Of course. And that's normal. You know, there's a saying, don't compromise your efforts for their insecurities. Yep. You know, and now I'm at a point where it's kind of like, you know, like I'm looking at the world. I'm not looking at this one community, if you know what I mean. I'm looking at the whole totality of this whole world, third world countries that are watching. So, you know, and what's up? You pointing arrow? You pointing at what?
Are you guys not seeing this?
Yeah, I see it.
You need to find your truth and then express that
Yeah.
truth.
Well,
Not
I
to
think,
be all like postmodernistic about it, like anything can be the truth, but there is something to be said about finding your truth and expressing it through your lens authentically. You know?
And that's why, as if I may, I'm going to go on this thing with little Bruce Lee philosophy. Like it's like a finger.
Kidding.
No, wait, check it out.
Okay.
And I think it goes, okay. So it's like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on me, or you lose all that heavenly glory, right? What he's saying is, I'm just a guide. I'm not your truth. You're the truth. You're your totality, and you have all that heavenly glory. That's all yours for yours to have. Your oyster, right? So if you just focus me, I'm your truth. Then you're not going to progress. You're not going to go nowhere, you know. And and I think this is there is a breakthrough shift happening, if you know what I mean, Rubio.
Yeah. That was the theme of this segment, right? Like something really special is happening in the Filipino martial arts. So whoever you are, to include you two guys, like paint on this canvas fearlessly and as authentically as possible. All right.
And so what, can I share one last thing?
Absolutely.
And so in all of this, in this discussion about figuring out my voice, the thing that I have come to in my break, in my period, and through all this therapy and emotional journey I've gone through is resiliency comes from experience, and a lot of it's pain, but a lot of it's also growth. But more importantly, the truth of self has come from a basis of love. And to be fair, in all of this, the truth in all of this, the unconditional love that I have for my wife and my children, regardless of anybody else, but my wife and my children, is what's given me the permission to be okay, despite all my insecurities. But knowing that that truth is what keeps me focused on all my other nonsense. And this is where I hope with that I can use the humor to make up the gaps, but that truth of unconditional love, as my unconditional love for the Filipino martial arts is, that is my truth. So.
Let me see this. Please excuse me.
I love that. I love that. No, I thought that came from, I thought you were doing some ventriloquism work. Yeah. You know, it sounds a little bit cheesy and cliche that love is all you need, right? One love.
Yeah. I live in Alaska. It's a hippie town.
I know, but I absolutely believe in that, you know, and I think I think it is the absolute truth, this one love. And yeah.
Look, if you look all these great operators that goes like forget Tim Kennedy, right? Sheepdog Response, and you got GBRS, you got Slade and all those. If you ever go on the field and they train, there's nothing but humor and laughter. You know, so seriously, we're all jokesters, you know. But when it's time to train, it's time to train.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
Are you guys familiar with Craig Sawman Sawyer?
No.
No? Sawman. Marine veteran, also a former Navy SEAL sniper combat instructor. He's currently doing a lot of work in anti-human trafficking.
Oh, okay. He's doing what? Is he doing work with Deliver Fund?
It sounds familiar, but he had a show as well, like a big figure in the tactical community. And I did an interview with him about the secrets of CQB.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, his number one ingredient for a successful CQB funnel from training to application is love. Like this bad mother effer was just like love is central to anything that you do. So beautifully wrapped up here, gentlemen. What a great conversation.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any final words? Like what's going on? You know what? Let's go. Kurt, you know, you're getting yourself out there. What's your Instagram account? How can people find you if they want to?
Yep. It's Coach Kurt _ LFS Collie Fight Team. Just look for the red dot.
Jesus. I mean, geez.
Yeah, it's long.
Okay, so what is it? What is it?
Coach
Kurt
_ LFS Collie Fight
What's
Team.
LFS?
LFS is the Leffler fighting system. However, it's not a system. It's a methodology. Just I call it a system.
Okay, so LFS Kali Fight Team?
Yep.
What is that, .com or?
No, just Instagram. That's really where I'm at.
Okay, yo, let's grow your Instagram. What a really complicated friggin' Instagram handle, though.
Yeah, I can do that.
I need to give you some pointers, bro. Okay, so tell me if this is correct. We can find you at Coach Kurt _ LFS Kali Fight Team on Instagram.
Yep, that's me.
And then you on Rob, you're Rob Pagan, aren't you, on Instagram?
Roberto Pagan. But
Roberto Pagan.
Come on, it'll come up like something like that. Yeah.
Cool. Well, dudes, thank you so much for being vulnerable on this conversation, man.
Hey, can I make one announcement?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I think I know what it's going to be. You're pregnant.
Huh? What?
No, sorry. No, that's the other thing. Okay, go on. You have a seminar coming up in LA.
I do. So I'll be teaming up with Navy SEAL Kenny Bigby Jr. March 18, 19, and that will be at Cover 6 Academy. I hope you guys can make it out. It's two for the price of one. You're gonna have two, myself and then Kenny, teaching a total of 8 hours divided by 4 hours of each of teaching of that window. And the price that you will pay is usually you pay the price for one individual instructor, like a big top dog instructor. So you're getting the worth in it, and it's a really beautiful moment arranged CL because we get it. We know how to encompass and the compatibility where we were just talking about earlier in the interview of this segment. But please do come through, and I hope you and anyone in LA or anyone's in like maybe 50 miles from LA. I promise you, this is a once in a lifetime. You won't regret it. It's going to be definitely a life. It's going to be a life changer. So it's going to be fun and yeah. And Kenny, like that dude, when I first saw him at the Utah conference and the way he was instructing and the content on the doing the ground, I couldn't believe it. He's amazing.
I spent more than a few drinky drink convo moments with former Navy SEAL Kenny Bigby Jr. as I have with you, Rob. Definitely, I wish I could make it to that one, and maybe I will.
Yeah. He is a combative He's a combative instructor. He's a combative tactician. You name it, man. This dude's like real. So I'm telling you, for all y'all, please do come out and support us. This is about our passion. We want to do. We want to train, and I mean. So
LA, March what? What are the dates again? What weekend?
March 18th and 19th.
March 18th and 19th. People can contact you or Kenny Bigby Jr.
Contact me, or they just go to the website to register on. I think it's Kenny Bigby Jr. Tactical. I think you have the link. If I send you the link,
I'll put the link once this is it's not anymore. Otherwise, communicate with you. Yeah, that's going to be a dope seminar, man.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, boom, right here. Mike Macabenta. We're in LA, Rob. I'll hit you up. Oh, this guy's a smart cat.
It's going to be at Cover 6 Academy. It's where I graduated for the Executive Protection Program.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a real nice facility. It's got a cool mock-up inside. It'll be in Thousand Oaks, California. If you're in LA, it's in Thousand Oaks, California.
Yeah, Mike, bring some people, man.
Bring them. And Kenny's gonna bring his own. He's gonna bring his flavor in here. So yeah.
It's gonna be a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
Just kidding. No. No, if you think about it, you got a U.S. Army Ranger and a Navy SEAL doing FMA, two jokers, man, two smart cats who move well. I mean, that's what more can you ask for? All right, gentlemen, we good?
Good.
All right, Kurt, you're out of here. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. We'll talk soon.
Honor to me, brother.
Rob, the hell, man. Yeah, you just called me on Messenger and you're like, hey, let's go talk. And I'm like, you know what? You started talking some stuff and we're like, yeah, might as well make this into a podcast. So that's what we did. Man, what do you got going the rest of the day? Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being authentic, bro. I appreciate you.
Very welcome. Very welcome. And then congratulations to you on your journey, doing what you're doing and you love. And this is, I think you found your purpose. I remember the journey that we talked, there's times you took time off and things like that. Yeah. You were thinking about going back to Tia Funker, doing it. And I really believe that you found what this is about. So again, keep doing what you're doing. Congratulations. This is your journey, building your fortress. And yeah, man, as everybody else, I wish you all abundance and you build your own fortress and have fun with it. Have an amazing time. Yeah.
Straight up, homie. Anyway, can't wait to see you again so you can make me tacos and we can do drunken knife work in kitchens. I appreciate that.
Let's go.
All right, my brother.
Ready to feed.
Yo, I appreciate your time, man. Peace.
Appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Woo! That was another dope show. 2-a-days. Hope you guys really appreciated that. Listen, I want to extend my invite to you. I posted the invite link on my Facebook page, and it didn't really reach people. But listen, if you're a Filipino martial artist and you got something to say and you want something to share, it doesn't matter if we agreed and disagreed in the past, whether you hate me or not, or whether you love me or not, or somewhere in between. I want to give you a platform to share your journey, share your opinion, even if it's contrary to my opinion. Just hit me up. Let's go chat. Let's go talk. Let's hash it out as we do. So, yeah, that was a really good one. I really enjoyed that one. I really enjoyed hanging out with these two guys. We covered a lot of things. So yeah, worth reflecting. Please share. If you guys caught this live, once it's uploaded, find the part that you really liked and share that with somebody that you feel needs to hear that. We talked about a lot of things, you guys. We talked about vulnerability. We talked about trauma. We talked about dealing with demons. We talked about Filipino martial arts, Tatang Ilustrisimo's knife style. We talked about a lot of things. I hope that was valuable for you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Until next time, peace.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch. Go.
You're finished. No.
Get up. Gotta wake up, bitch. Get up.
Oh.
Get up. Get up.
For it to launch the counterattack.